If you've been teaching for more than a day or two, you've probably had some negative experiences. You can get bitter or get better. You can turn lemons into lemonade, or you can take that negativity and carry that baggage around with you. Which sounds like the better option? In this episode, I'm going to go through some negative experiences that I've had in my career and was able to generate some positive outcomes for me and my students. Just a disclaimer, these examples have all been cherry-picked. There have been plenty of times in my career where I've got bitter over a negative experience instead of better. And what did it do? It hurt me twice. I'm not going to talk about these because the outcomes are boring and predictable. So that's why I'm cherry-picking the times that I was able to grow as a teacher. The second thing that I need to disclose is that all of these examples involve some sort of interpersonal conflicts. And as you know, there's always two sides to every story. The people on the other side aren't here to defend themselves or give their point of view. And I don't really want the focus to be on them, but on me as a teacher and my growth. Once upon a time, I had a conflict with one of my coworkers. I was fortunate enough to have a budget for my orchestra program, and with it I was able to pay for stuff like instrument repairs for the school instruments, bow rehairs, contest fees, and my program was pretty well supported. The conflict came about because I started to hear back from some of these vendors, and they were telling me months later that they still hadn't been paid. And so I'd check in to the business office, and they would tell me, oh, well, we don't have an invoice, so we can't pay them, or there's some technicality and we can't pay this out. It wasn't properly submitted, So there's some excuse for why money wasn't getting in these companies. For a lot of these, I was fortunate enough to have made copies of all of the receipts so that I could resubmit them over to the business office. But then they came up with this new policy that said, we don't take copies of receipts. We have to have the original receipt. So then I had to go back to the vendor and say, hey, can I have another receipt because they need an original receipt? And then I had to submit that. And then there was more delays in payment and that kind of thing. And this worked for a while, but then they came up with a new policy that said, okay, you have to be able to pay these companies within 30 days, and then the time was getting shorter and shorter. And through this whole process, I was just starting to get bitter and resentful, and it was really being a burden on me as a teacher. Instead of worrying about my classroom, my students, and their learning, I was putting it all on me and my ego. I was worried about my reputation with the vendors and my business relationships, and I was putting a lot of weight on myself that didn't necessarily need to be there. And I was blaming a department that was very understaffed, overworked, underpaid, and all of these policies probably didn't come from them. It's probably coming down from a higher place, and then they were having to implement these policies that they didn't necessarily agree with, and that was really unfair. One day out of the blue, I got a thank you note from a student, and I read it, and it helped me to refocus and recalibrate and be able to change my mindset and ultimately my behavior. It was kind of an epiphany. And I started collecting every single thank you note that I got, and I have tons of thank you notes and Christmas cards and all sorts of stuff. I have boxes full of these things, and what I realized is that the people that mattered most, the students, the parents, the people in my classroom, were very grateful for the opportunities that they had. And I was also very grateful for them too. And what energy am I putting out into the world? And I made it a point to try to show more gratitude wherever I could. Anytime something positive happened, I made sure to express gratitude. And this works best in person, but I would even do this on emails. If somebody sent me an email, I'd copy it, and anybody that was involved in the project, the purchasing department, payroll, whatever, I would CC them on it and say, thank you so much for helping out with this. This has been great. Sometimes I'd take a picture of a student that had an instrument that had been repaired, and I'd send it to them and say, hey, thank you. I'd send it to the person that repaired it and to the people that paid for it and say, hey, thank you. This is making a big difference in my classroom. What I ended up fixing was me. I was acting like the person that I wanted to be, and I was modeling the behavior that I appreciated and needed from others. I was acting like somebody that I could be proud of. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said in his 1871 address to Cambridge High School, "What lies behind us, what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us." And the reason why I started playing violin in the first place is because I feel like I have something inside of me that's worth sharing. And I want to live it out. I want to live out the best parts of me and what I have to share. And I'm by no means perfect. And I often find myself in situations where I'm starting to get bitter, but I've been making an effort to instead try to get better instead of bitter. Have you had a discouraging experience in your teaching? In the comment section below, please tell us your story. Did you get bitter or get better? If you got bitter, it's not too late to grow from it. I would love it if you had something that you could contribute, so please post in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.